everyone. Today we're going to start from the basics. Today we're going to talk about what valuation is. If you're not from finance, it may sound very obscure, very difficult, but let's break it down to what it really is. Valuation is nothing else than an agreement between two parties, party A and party B, on the price for the transfer of a business. That's as simple as that. It's the price. So as you know, whenever a price is involved, there is a good part of negotiation between party A and party B. Party A would try to sell the business as high as possible. Party B is going to try to buy the business at the price as low as possible. So how do you solve that? If each of them has a different opinion, how do you combine them? That's where valuation comes into the practice. That's where you use an objective and disciplined approach to estimate the value of the business in a way that the other party is convinced about your opinion or vice versa. So valuation is an argumentation about your opinion on what the value should be, what the price should be. And the financial modeling, everything else behind that is a weapon to get your point across. It's to back up your claim. But it's not something that has a mean on its own. Financial modeling doesn't have a mean on its own. The final end is to get to a price. So now we know what valuation is, to say what the kernel of valuation is. The next point is how to make a good valuation. Numbers are just numbers. They don't mean anything unless they are backed up by a story. And the final step is how to make a good story. This is where a lot of entrepreneurs may miss the point for the reason that they have the vision, they have the ambition, but they do not know how to make that story credible or believable in the eyes of the buyer. A good story is based on three elements, three pillars, and a background. The three pillars are: a story should be possible, plausible, and probable. And the story must be based on a context. So let's start with the context. The context is the scenario, the world, the environment where your story is going to take place. It's like the Middleland for the Lord of the Rings. That's where you or your company is going to be able to thrive, where your story is going to begin and end. In the terms of valuation, the context is the market. How big is the market, and what are the trends in the market, changing in demand, these kind of things, and how those are going to impact your company and most likely or hopefully favor your company. So it's very important that you set the pace for what is coming next. If you get this right, the question is not whether it's going to happen or not. The question is this the right company to take advantage of these trends? So the context should feel inevitable, which is very important. You should feel that it's going to happen nonetheless, regardless of what your company does. That's very important. That's an aspect that is often misunderstood by entrepreneurs, and it should be highlighted as much as the story of the company. Inevitability, urgency. Make sure that they feel like they're missing out if they don't buy into your company. So now that we have a good context, as I said, the question is this the right company to take full advantage of this strength of this scenario? And that's where your story should take shape, and it should start by being, first of all, possible. This also means what is the broad vision of the company, what is the long-term goal of the company. Some authors also refer to it as BHAG, big, hairy, audacious decision, audacious goal. So what is your company going to look like in 10 to 20 years time? What is the broader sense that the company has? Why is the company even existing? What are you believing into? What does the company believe into? So the long-term goal. The second layer, or the second scenario of a story, is that a story should be plausible. This means that the story should sound credible in the limits of reasonability. It means that in the scenario that you depict in the context, you should give like a clear understanding of how and what the company can achieve. In other terms, it says the mid-term goals of your company from 3 to 5 years time, or it can also be described as the how. The third layer is probability, or the story should be probable based on the recent history of the company, based on the facts that have been presented. What is the most likely scenario for the immediate future of the company? So the short-term development of the company. It also means the what. So as to recap, a story should have a context. You should depict the world in which your company is going to thrive, in which your narrative is going to take place. Then the story should be A, possible, B, plausible, and 3, probable. Or you should describe the why, the how, and the what of your company. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.